Welcome back to Sow, Grow and Cook. It's the 7th of April and we've had a really big cold snap the last few days. The weather's all over the place. It's been snowing, it's been hailing, we've had glorious sunshine, it's rained, we've got frost. And I've got a lot of seedlings that I planted, tender things that need to keep warm and keep growing. So how do I deal with those? Come on, I'll give you a tour. Back in March, I sowed quite a few tomato seeds. We like growing tomatoes here on the small holding. I like to make passata and I like to make other dishes that use quite a lot of cooked tomatoes. And it's nice not to have to buy tins of tomatoes or jars of sauce from the shop. So, tomatoes are frost tender, but they do tolerate a little bit of cold provided you protect them at night. So what I do, if I hear the temperature is going to dip to below 4 degrees Celsius, is I cover the tray that they're in with the propagator lid. It's quite a heavy duty one. And if the temperature is going to go below freezing, 0 or below centigrade, I will add an additional layer of protection. Now you can use newspaper or you can use paper feed sacks. I just happen to have quite a lot of leftover recycled bubble wrap, and I'll put a layer on top. And if it's going to be a little bit colder than 0, I might put 2 layers on top of the propagator lid. It does offer a considerable amount of protection, but you really do have to be aware of your temperatures. And if you think it's going to get colder than -1, -2 centigrade, you might just want to bring the plants indoors. But on a nice day, it doesn't have to be particularly sunny out, even just bright enough daylight. The temperatures really do rise in the greenhouse and your tomato plants will get plenty of light and they'll be growing fine in there. I mean, you can see these are doing quite well. They look quite sturdy. I've got some brassicas here and they're actually okay when the weather's quite cold at night. They have their own ways of protecting themselves. So do sweet peas. Sweet peas are quite cold tolerant and lettuces are fine in the greenhouse. You can see these. I just leave them on the shelves overnight. And provided we don't have a very severe frost, these are generally okay just on the shelves. Here I've got some multi-sown vegetables in these little modules. I've got some chard here at the end and some radishes and beetroot, and some leeks are starting to come up. I've planted parsnips at the end, but they've not come up yet. These are all cold tolerant plants, so I don't bother covering these in the greenhouse. I just leave them there overnight and they seem to be doing okay. It's always really lovely to see these little shoots coming up. Real sign of spring. And it makes me really look forward to the harvest that we're going to have in the future. Over here I've got some mange tout peas and little tray of spinach and some shelling peas and a few leftover brassicas. Underneath this propagator lid I've got some flowers germinating. I've got some zinnias and I've got some little sunflower plants coming up. Now, zinnias, I think, are sensitive to the frost. Sunflowers, less so. But just to be on the safe side, I will cover them with the propagator lid at night. Similarly, I've got cosmos growing under this propagator lid. I could probably take that off now because it's not night time, and the temperatures are relatively mild today. These are a nice colourful mixed cosmos, and I just cover them at night. Potatoes can take a bit of cold, but if you are going to have a heavy frost, I would cover your seed potatoes maybe with bubble wrap or some newspaper, or in my case I've got some paper feed sacks. You can use all sorts of materials to protect your plants. Here are my chilies, my sweet peppers, my tomatillos, and my aubergines or eggplants. They really are a lot more frost tender than the tomatoes. So they can go out in the greenhouse in the day when it's nice, but they'll have to come in at night. I just won't risk losing them to the cold. A really super quick tour of the top polytunnel. I'm still in the process of tidying it out and getting it ready to plant some things. I've planted a few new things, but look at my asparagus that's coming up. I've tried to establish a permanent asparagus bed in the polytunnel, and I think this is their third season. I have picked one or two spears and they were delicious. I'm just surprised they came so early. Just shows what a bit of protection can do to speed things along. Moving on, I have some ruby chard growing still, and the red kale is starting to go to seed, but is still very edible, very attractive, eaten raw in salads, chopped up, and the flower heads are really tasty. More chard. We've got calendulas growing. These are self-seeded ones, and Swiss chard. Some onions that I forgot were here. A little bit of wild nettle growing, which I'm going to leave because I could harvest that and make another risotto or soup. Moving on, we've got fennel that never seems to go away. I thought I dug this up, but obviously I left a bit in. Actually, the growth here is very sweet and tender, and I just chopped this up and put it in salads. It's really delicious, very sweet and aniseedy. Delicious. And here's my self-seeded cilantro, or coriander as we call it here, growing in between the shallots and the garlic. Now I've got some other things that are self-seeding. I've got this red auric, I think is how you say it. It's a spinachy type plant, very mild flavour, nothing really to get too excited about flavour wise, but very pretty in a salad. And when the plants grow tall and get their flower heads, they're very attractive, and they go beautifully in mixed flower arrangements. So I've got 100 garlic cloves planted here. Oh, here's some more of my other asparagus bed. Again, growing nicely. Coming up well. Hopefully in the next year or two, I'll be able to harvest quite a bit of this. I have some Charlotte potatoes growing in this patch here. Oh, I can see evidence of one just starting to come up. Not this, that's a weed. But here you go. A little bit of a potato coming up. There's another one. Now, even though these are in the polytunnel and this offers them some protection against wind and rain damage, I would probably still consider putting some fleece or bubble wrap on top once the greens are showing more, especially if we've got forecast of a heavy frost, because you can get frost inside of polytunnels, as I discovered last year when I lost quite a few tomato plants in May. I thought they would have been fine in the polytunnel, and I covered some of them up, but I didn't cover all of them up, and the ones I didn't cover up died. And further down we've got lots and lots of parsley growing. This is a biennial, which means it'll seed in its second year. It winters over beautifully. I've been picking bits of this all winter long to add to soups and stews and salads. It's delicious. Here we've got my perennial bed full of Egyptian walking onions. These are an absolute joy to grow. In the winter time they die back and they go totally dormant, but by about February they start sending up the green shoots of these spring oniony type things. They're absolutely delicious, and they'll grow and they'll grow and they'll grow, and then eventually the tops will get these little clusters of bulbs, and the weight of those bulbs will bend the stems over and they'll take root in the ground and start growing up again. And effectively that's how they walk across your garden. But it's such a useful plant to have. And I love nibbling on them when I'm in the polytunnel. They just remind me of summer. It's so delicious. Try growing some. Happy gardening, everyone. Thank you for watching, and if you liked what you've seen, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you can be notified when a new video comes out.